Our next guest is the third all-time leading passer in BYU history. His name is John Beck. He is a regular on the program, and he joins us on the Deseret First Credit Union hotline. John, great to have you on the show.
Thanks for having me back on, guys.
There's a lot to discuss in the offseason of BYU football, but let's first address this. Zach Wilson in the bowl game, the Potato Bowl against Western Michigan, goes 18 for 18. What did you think of Wilson's performance to end the season on that note?
Just super impressive. To be that efficient, really at any year, right? Junior, senior, you name it. But he goes out and does it in his freshman year, in his first ever bowl game. It was just a really impressive performance, and I know it gave BYU fans a lot to be excited about going forward.
What's the closest you've ever come to a performance like that in terms of completions?
Oh, geez, like high school. I think one time I had like a game where I probably threw only like 10 or 11 passes, and I think my team completed all of them, but high school ball, right? I don't think I had any type of 4 or 5 or something like that. Really, even just to go out in a practice or a 7-on-7 or anything like that, when you're completing every single ball, that's just really efficient on your part. It's really also efficient on the guys around you. That's the other thing. There's games that a quarterback can go out there and complete a ton of balls, and there's some incompletions that, hey, it's because the wideout and quarterback weren't on the same page, or there's different things. So for the whole unit, guys catching the ball, person throwing the ball, everybody to be on that type of chemistry level, that's also just, it doesn't happen very often. I think that's why you go look at record books, there's not that many people in college football that complete every single pass they throw in a game. So super impressive.
It's like a no-hitter. You've got to have that center field catch that, is off the wall, near the wall. Aleva Hifo
Right.
and Dylan Collie had some great catches, so that was fun to see. We've chronicled it a little bit, but let's address it with you. You've worked with Zach before BYU, and you will continue to work out with him. He told us on signing day. So with the shoulder injury, I guess, what's the plan with him after the semester in his workouts?
Well, Zach has a plan in place for rehab. And it doesn't need to be pushed because he has time. And then once the rehab gets into a place where he can come back out and we can get back training, I know that that's the first thing he wants to do. We've spoken on the phone. So, like I said, there's a plan in place for his rehab, and there's a plan in place for when he's going to be able to come back out here. And, he's the type of kid you never have to worry about, is he going to be doing everything that he can do to get better? That's just the way he functions. So I know that he's probably chomping at the bit to be able to start the work with me. But before we can get back to that, he's got to take the proper steps to build a great foundation for his arm so that this whole process that was done, the decision that was made to do the surgery, all those reasons play out the way it's supposed to. He did this procedure as a precautionary thing so that he no longer has to deal with this going forward. He took care of it now, and then that can really be out of his mind going forward.
We've heard that there's a chance that his arm may actually be stronger after this, and he might be able to throw a harder ball. Is that legitimate?
Is everybody hoping that it's like Rookie of the Year, Rosenbagger, or whatever his name was? Look, there's no way to say he's going to, it's going to be stronger, this and that. I think with the work that he's going to do, a lot of the times in that rehabilitation process, you work on the fine-tuning things that can make your arm more balanced, more structurally sound and fit. And with that, there's potentially some things where we can say, it's going to come back better. I was alarmed when I found out the type of feelings that he was dealing with after throwing in games, especially the bowl game. And really what happened was since his junior year in high school, he just kind of conditioned himself to deal with those feelings, not knowing that those feelings were stemming from something that needed to be fixed. So, from a performance standpoint, I don't think it was necessarily limiting what he could do performance-wise. It was more post-performance, what he was dealing with afterwards, that needed to be fixed. So that's what this is about. So I think if we use strong, it's not like he's going to add 8 yards to his deep ball. It's more going to be what he's going to be able to feel post-throwing and how that's going to be able to affect then his training days going forward. He's not going to have these lingering things.
So he's been playing with pain for the past 2 years? Is that what you're telling us?
No. Not playing with pain. More like residual post-performance. Some of the things that he had to deal with. Like, it's not uncommon for, okay, all throwers have these little micro tears because of just years and years and years of throwing. If you get into MRIs, it's not uncommon for throwers at the collegiate and professional level. They can go in and they can find little things in everybody. But what was happening is there was some little things that became a little bit bigger without him knowing. So like I said, this wasn't an injury like, you know, people hear shoulder surgery and the first thing that jumps into their mind is Drew Brees. Oh, he couldn't throw a football. This was not, it's not the same type of thing. He was able to throw just fine. It was essentially afterwards what was lingering as a result. That really was the only thing. So that's why, you know, he made the decision, let's take care of it now so that I don't have to have this lingering going forward. That was kind of the main thing.
So
a lot of it was precautionary.
Yeah, so preventative of perhaps a larger injury in the future. Is that what you're saying as well?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? I kind of like, I don't even know what Zach has put out there, right? So I got to be careful. Like, I may have just, maybe Zach was not wanting that to be said. I really don't know what Zach put out. When this whole process went down, you know, nobody knew about it. I was, you know, in communication with them, trying to help them the best that I could, put them in touch with the best doctors that I could, and communicate back and forth and put them in the, you know, just like I said, having them speak to the best people I knew. So I'm really unclear of what Zach has put out to any media people in Provo.
Yeah, I think you're within the realm of what he has said, which is this was,
okay,
you know, a minor thing, somewhat prevented. So that's good. He wasn't playing with pain.
Okay.
But it's good to hear that he's going to be the guy because he has 3 more years.
Right.
3 more years to be the guy at BYU, which is exciting.
Well, and John, I mean, this with him not being able to throw during spring ball, and spring ball starts on Monday, that would certainly lead to some opportunities in terms of reps and being able to get a lot of reps from guys like Jaron Hall and other quarterbacks at the quarterback position. I would assume if you're in their position, you're looking forward to this spring because you know you're going to get the ball in your hands a lot.
Yeah, I think for all those guys, I mean, a lot of them are young guys that are going to get an opportunity that they wouldn't have if Zach was back there. I know from Zach's perspective, he's saying, I wanted these reps because I know there was a little bit of, like, in the season, they kind of ran an offense a certain way with Tanner because of what Tanner could do. And then when Zach got in there, they needed to kind of build something that fit more the experience that Zach was bringing to the table. So I know Zach wanted to build from there. All right, let's continue to grow in this offense. So it is tough for Zach to not get these reps. I know he wanted them, and I know that they'd be really beneficial because the teams that BYU is going to open up with at the beginning of the season are very different from what BYU finished with on the back half of the schedule. So I know that would have been great to have them grow, but I think I think I saw something. It popped up on my Twitter. Jaron Hall is going to get a lot of these reps, the kid that's playing baseball.
Yes.
I'm sure that these other guys, I hate to say it, but what's the red-haired kid's name again?
Joe Critchlow.
Right. He's probably going to be getting reps. All those guys are going to be getting reps that are going to be divided amongst them and they wouldn't gotten. So for these guys, it's great. And I know that for the starter, you wish you could have him be the guy, but there's a big issue in college football right now because of the limited amount of time that coaches have to coach players in the off season. I know the coaches wish Zach could be out there, but they're getting a great opportunity to develop these younger guys. We don't want to see an injury in the season, but you just never know what type of weird hit, falling on an ankle, a shoulder, a weird hit to the head, and the team says, hey, we don't want to chance it, and they pull the starter out. It's a big issue of developing backups right now because of all these rules. So BYU is going to get a chance to develop some of these backup players that may have to make some plays during the season.
John, of all the quarterbacks, how could you not remember the quarterback that has red hair?
I know. You know what? I sat right. Well, I consider myself Auburn. Like, I always look for that on anything where it says, like, what color is your hair? Black, brown, red. If there's no Auburn, which there usually isn't, I mark brown. So
you're not ginger, but yeah, exactly.
I'm not. Yeah,
exactly.
But you know what? So I do feel bad because I sat right next to Joe in a quarterback meeting this last year on Thanksgiving Day, and you know what? I want to be that guy that remembers everybody's name, but crap, it was eluding me.
He needs to be challenged. It's all good. He's going to take this, and it's going to be the motivation he needs. You know. When we look at what Zach Wilson can do in this next season, you mentioned it. The schedule's very different. What seems to be the difference in these independent teams that BYU's fielding versus the teams you played on? Because the schedules are very hard, so it's kind of hard to compare a little bit. But what differences do you see, and how can BYU make a jump forward?
Well, I think it's a harder schedule than what we used to play. You know, we had some good caliber teams on there. You know, the TCU teams were always a good caliber team. The Utah teams were good. Like, we had teams that were, you know, high caliber teams, but, you know, we didn't usually – I mean, we always played Pac-12 opponents to kick off the season or something like that, you know. And they were good teams, but you see kind of this front-loaded, like, bam, 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 bam. You just got these 4 in the first 5 or 6 games, these quality teams. The schedules I played, you would play like a Pac-12 team, some other, like a Boston College team that we played was a really good team my senior year. And then, you know, you play maybe like not as great of a team, and then all of a sudden you go play like a TCU. But nowadays, this BYU team, it's these front-loaded. You go to these premier sites. You open up at, like, I think next year, don't they open up like at the new Raiders Stadium? Just kind of these big stage, big games. And really, nowadays in these defenses, I think that what defenses are doing, it's a little bit more difficult on an offense. Do I think that offenses have adapted and they've become smarter in ways that they can get completions? Absolutely. There was no RPO game. You know, these like having a run call with a screen tag to it, and the quarterback is making a decision on does he give the run, does he throw the screen. Those boost percentages, but I can promise you what defenses are doing now has also gotten better. That's why you can't say it doesn't go across the board. I think both offenses and defenses have gotten smarter. So you have these talented teams that are giving these defensive looks that at times can be a little bit tougher to identify. You have to be really efficient on those things you're doing offensively. So these schedules that BYU put together, they're like the difficulties in the front of it. And then the back end, I feel like, is we want to make sure we get those wins to make sure we get to a bowl game regardless of what happens at the beginning of the schedule. That's kind of how it's playing out.
BYU better walk into the weight room warmed up already. That's all I have to say. Yeah, it's tough. John, we appreciate the time. You're not a redhead. You have auburn hair. We learned that today.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Appreciate the time, John.
All right, guys. We'll see you.